And here we are live. Thank you for joining us today on OreAni 2013, end of summer. Woohoo!
2013.
2013?
2020, sorry. Did I say 13, really? Oops. I'm living in the past.
Travel back in time.
I think we started this back in 2011, 2012, maybe somewhere around there. It's been a long time we've been doing this. Happy that we still have this small group here. We've changed cast a few times, but we're still going strong.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go ahead. You can see the title already there. This is called, what was it called again? Zekiru Neko Kyo mo Yutsu, which translates into The Masterful Cat is Depressed Again Today. Which was that Studio Gohan's film that we kind of destroyed at the start of this season. So, as Vinny was the only person, it seems, that watched it all, how did it go?
I decided to watch it simply because I love the manga, and once you get past that troublesome first episode, it was mostly fine. Outside of the CGI, it's pretty conventional in terms of approaching it, and it followed pretty faithfully to the storyline from the manga, which can be a little tricky at times since they kind of likes to go back and forth between timelines of where Taku and Masterful Cat is living together, and then they have a flashback moments where Taku just picked the cat up from the under the bench in the cold winter night when he was kitten. So they kind of go back and forth, but it's not something about time traveling or anything confusing plot line. It's just having a little reflection on how he was versus how he is now. Right now he is that almighty, ultimate household god or something. It's not. It's in a sense it plays a lot like a Senko-san from many seasons ago, except instead of having a lowly fox girl, we got this jumbo-sized cat who can do it all. Cook, clean, do all the house chores, tend to the owner who's prone to over drinking, which is sort of a punching back a stereotypical life of a salary person in Japan, where they overworked, they have to go out and spend so much time drinking a lot, and they get wasted, and they kind of repeat the cycle 5 to 6 days a week. And so it plays out of that escapism. Instead of going to isekai world, we got this fantasy make-believe Cinderella fairy tale story where your kitten that you picked up turned out to be this super smart, super capable, ultimate housemate who can do it all for you. And the owner end up relying on the cat a lot. It's and also it's a slice of life. The story itself doesn't really go anywhere in the anime, and it takes a little bit longer to pick up the steam and actually move along in manga as well. And as far as story and animation goes, it's fine. It's just that with Gohans, there's just no getting around the fact that you have to deal with their very stylish use of CGI, which is very troublesome in many ways, between these ungodly shiny cars to these bare bones building structures inside and out, and their heavy use of weird angles that kind of goes from the from the shoe length to going up to some weird other angles that kind of protruding and getting in the way. Unlike the other series, there's another one, which surprisingly they did 2 this season. This one, once you get past the first episode, it tempers down a lot, so it plays like conventional series, which thankfully it's a good thing. But I understand if some people couldn't get past the first episode because it was just first 3 minutes of literally doing nothing, but they're just showcasing CGI for no reason. It has nothing to do with the story. And I believe quite a few of us scratched our heads, and I remember distinctively wailing over what kind of stupid ass decision they decided to do with this. But I'm glad I kind of suck it up and dealt with it, and it has a lot of cute, adorable moments, and I enjoyed it overall. It's enjoyable once you get past the first episode for those people who like the slice of life, sort of a little escapism type of a series. And the cat is so damn good. I want him.
So the only questions I would have is, was it? It seemed like it was kind of trying to do this like rom com. Did it ever get into rom com, or is it still more like?
Oh, there's a little bit of a thrown in there, but that's really for the change of a pace and a little bit of kick to it. But ultimately, it amounts to really nothing.
Okay, and the only other question I would ask is, do you think this was as slice of life goes, you compared it to Senko, was it more like episodic, or you can just pick up an episode and watch it and enjoy it, or did it have like an overall story, overarching story, I should say?
There is an overall story, but it's very episodic in a way that you can pick up any random episode and be able to watch it. There's some extra character gets thrown in there later on, but they don't make a regular appearance to the point where you have to watch previous episodes to really make sense out of it or anything like that.
All right. Maybe I'll have to ask you to make the highlight reel. Tell us what to watch, which parts are good.
Oh, the cat going to the aquarium is a good one.
All right. Next up is this mouthful of a title. Let me see if I can get this. Higeki no Genkyo to naru Saikyo Gendo last boss jo wa tamani no tame ni tsukushimasu. Which in English is so much shorter. The most hysterical last boss queen from villainous to savior.
It's the most mouthful title of the season.
I would say, you should see how long this is in Japanese, actually written in kanji. Look at that. I'm going to post it over here. So long.
Yeah, it's so long.
So this was one of the few shows on High Dive. And one of the few shows that I actually kept on watching, which surprisingly, it was I don't think I got to the last episode, but it doesn't hurt me that much. It was a show that was entertaining enough that I could watch it, but I was hoping that it would have something more to draw me in, but it never really delivered on that. It just kept on seeming like, we're going to give you a problem, now you're going to recruit a new person and tell them the exact same thing you told everyone else. Like, if something bad happens, I need you to take care of it, type of thing. And all of the problems were kind of like easily solvable with her, because I guess since she's the last boss character, she was very overtuned and overpowered, and she could pick up things real fast. So unlike what's her name from the villainess, where she was like the weakest of everyone and was constantly getting herself into trouble where you didn't know what was going to really happen. Not because she could easily solve it, but like, how is she going to get out of this conundrum with whatever weird antics she can think of? This one was pretty much cookie cutter, like, I'm OP, so things are just going to work out the way we planned it, in a way. But I would say that some of the abilities that they did showcase were somewhat interesting. And I'm kind of wonder what other abilities to expect. So that was kind of another thing that made it a little more interesting to me. But As it got to the end, would you say concluded, Vinny, or is it still gonna?
Feels like they had a second season in mind, but I don't know if it will get greenlit.
Yeah, same. I think it was just the manga and the novels are continuing because she hasn't reached that age in the game where the big event happens. So it's just set up so that her fear is that whatever she does, even though she's changed everything, the game will force her to become this villainess at the appropriate moment. Like there's probably going to be some sort of magic artifact or something that'll turn her evil, even though that's not her anymore. So that's the premise that she's working off of, and it's just utterly bizarre mindset to have that you think that you've experienced this life, it's real to you, but you still think it's a game, and the game will force you to become a villainess regardless of what you do. So I don't know. I'm not going to be watching season 2, and I'm probably done with the manga too.
I think it had a great first episode where there is actual tension in the air. Premise was more promising than ultimate results because once she resolved to be the character that will oppose what was game laid out for her, then everything kind of becomes something of a little goody two shoes. It's lacking in tension later on. Even though some of the character presented a challenge for her, but because her ability is so overpowering and she was hell bent on making all the allies out of everybody, it kind of sucks the tensions out and it became very middling series later on. I watched it, but I don't think I will rewatch it anytime soon. It just is very forgettable, typical Ultimate game series.
All right. Dragon, are you around?
Yes, I am here.
Rawr. Here's your show. You know me a piece.
Me pieces.
So, from what I just saw the synopsis, it's just like short stories that they kind of skipped over or glossed over, right?
Right. So, like, all the episodes in Horror Me Pieces are like supposed to be stuff that's happening in between things that are happening in the first season. So it's like very like just like extra like fun tales to like watch basically. And I haven't watched the last episode yet, but all of the episodes have just been very fun and heartwarming. And like if you enjoyed Hormia, then I think you're definitely gonna enjoy watching Hormia Pieces just because it's just very feel good.
All right. So let's go to the next title, which is the looks like it's the vending machine one, right?
Yes.
I'm not going to try to say that name. I'm just going to say it's reincarnated as a vending machine. If you guys could talk about that, give me a second. I have to step away for a moment.
Okay. Vinny, you want to start first?
Yeah, might as well. It's the premise is dumb, and we knew that it was going that way for quite some time. When the isekai genre started branching off from this typical overpowering teenage emo edgy roads, and now then it started to branch off into this. You're reborn into this isekai world, except you're not reborn as a human being. Now we had slimes and we had all different creatures. And then now we started to venture off into non-humanoid or even living
like
objects. Right, reborn as a sword that was last season, couple seasons ago, and now we got a bending machine, which sounds stupid, but surprisingly, it was actually a watchable series. I didn't have a high hope. I think I'll just watch the first episode just for the kick of it, just make fun of it. But then it turned out it was better than average isekai of the fork kind of series. So pleasantly surprised. Whole premise is that he's reborn as a vending machine, but he's able to cash out some of the points he accumulated by selling stuff. And of course, conveniently, it's automatically restocked and he never runs out of it. That's a good thing. And it doesn't need to be plugged in to be useful. And his abilities to be able to transform into different vending machine, and he uses it to his ultimate advantage to save his skin, along with his beloved companion, who discovered him sitting by the by the lakeside, about to get, kicked to the teeth by this oversized frog. And they go into this like a little nice adventure together and befriends all the other town people, save the town many times over because, well, it's an overpowered vending machine. But ultimately, it was watchable kid series. Don't really need to pay close attention to the plot line. But as a time killer, this probably was one of the better choice than others.
I agree. Like, I don't know. I came in with really low expectations for this, and then I remember like on the times that I would watch this, like I was actually surprised with like how interesting some of the episodes were going, especially like there was that one episode where uh it was like it's he's in a town and it's like at night like the undead come out, and then I was like whoa, and then like when that kid was coming back to like always get like something from the vending machine, and then I was like after that episode I was like my heart that hit. I did not expect something like that to come out of this anime.
That was, yeah, that was
I was-
surprisingly touching moment.
I was like, oh, how did we get into like, this ridiculous idea of like, oh, someone's gonna turn into like a vending machine in, like a fantasy world. It's like out of everything, like you would have just thought it's gonna be just purely like stupid, like kind of humor. Like, oh, they're gonna just like make fun of like how like people are gonna react to a vending machine in the whole fantasy world. But it's like they actually put in stuff that like made it like actually really interesting to like and like engaging. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. But it was a very pleasant surprise to have that moment into the anime.
Yeah, so I would agree that pretty much it started with low expectation. It was surprisingly good, but in my case, about 3/4 of the way through, I realized that it's has the same problem with any isekai, right? That's not that well written. Is that the protagonist just becomes overpowered because he can change not into things he interacted with. It's anything that he has a vague knowledge of, right? So everything from like a first aid station to balloon machines to dry ice machines. It's anything. So and at one point he also becomes not just a vending machine. It's just a gasoline station, right? He's pumping gas. So that whole premise is like falling apart, and towards the final episode, he turns into something that's clearly not a vending machine. Right? You don't sell that, you just use it. So I'm like, what is the premise of this? So I think it kind of fell apart towards the end, and also there was some really rough animation in the last 3 episodes. I think the last episode was back to normal, but some of those episodes were pretty rough looking, and I get it. It's not meant to be high class isekai, but I wish they would have stuck with the premise a little bit more, and that the solutions that they had, he uses his knowledge to try to convey what the modern scientific way of thinking is, so that they can apply it to this medieval fantasy magic world and win. like with the water and the dry ice and the fumes, and that it's actually carbon dioxide, right? So it extinguishes flames, these kinds of things. So instead of just spending points, becoming overpowered, being able to change it to anything beyond a vending machine, and spending points so that he now has abilities, right? His barrier becomes even tougher. His hardness of his body becomes even harder. All of this, and then he becomes a level 2 vending machine. At which point he's no longer apparently a vending machine. So it's still fine. It still was fun watching it. I'm not gonna go back and watch it because I just feel that they went beyond what the initial promise was, and he just became overpowered. And what's gonna happen in season 2? They're just gonna throw even tougher things at him, right? And it's just the escalation. Meanwhile, the people he's protecting, the adventurers, I don't see them getting any stronger, right? Except Lamas is getting better because she's carrying him and has a better balance. That's a completely weird thing, but whatever, right? So yeah, I just felt that the last quarter kind of just went downhill from the initial premise. But that's me.
So I'm gonna have
Hank,
to,
are you back?
yeah, I'm gonna have to check again because from what I understood when I was reading the light novel, I thought that he could only dispense and change it to things that he's purchased within his lifetime in his previous life. So that's why he was
That's what I
given
thought,
so many
too.
options, and he was limited. So the fact that he was able to do a lot of these other things, I was like, kind of like, wait a minute, did he really, or like, is there really
That is
machines that
exactly
dispense
what
stuff
he,
like that?
yeah, he said that in the first episode that, oh, I'm able to turn into things because he's looking at that list, right? But
Mhm.
at some point, he can become things that he's heard of or read about because he's dispensing information that, oh, and show us such and such a year this vending machine was invented. It's clearly before his time, but he's able to talk about it and then turn into it. So I guess his menu expanded somehow. I don't know. I don't read the novels. I'm just going off the what I saw in the anime. But it's fine. It's perfectly fine. More fine than you would initially think, and it was fun. But again, towards the end, I think it just kind of lost track.
Yeah. Okay, so the next title we got, which was another really somewhat, I guess, entertaining isekai. And this one's pretty obvious with what kind of character he is am I actually the strongest? Jitsu wa ore saikyou deshita. And I believe they've almost caught up to where the manga is. I think the manga is just a few chapters ahead of this. So, we definitely have more coming out, maybe in a second season, but probably not anytime soon. We've been introduced to most of the cast I think we're going to be seeing as far as team members. I mean, they could always still throw some more of like who the evil people are going to be, but and we've also learned a little bit more about the world and the I guess the level of where their magic is at as they're discovering things. But the thing that made this show so lovable, it has to be Charlotte, and Charlotte just made things a little more fun and also kind of grounded the protagonist, because I felt that there's a lot of moments where he gets really, really dark, but because of Charlotte, he pulls back and is able to control himself to being, I guess, a decent human. But the first half, I believe, of it was mostly his kid days, and now with the second half, it's all focused on this school and the misconceptions Charlotte has because of what is his name, Haruto, corrupting her little mind with anime.
Bad brother.
it makes everything so hilarious, and it's just it's it's a hoot. It's fun. It's if you don't want to take it anything serious, this is a really good show.
I don't know if I'll say it's a great show. It's I'll say it plays pretty well for all those cliche that it throws into it. You know, it starts it off with how anytime somebody wants to have this slow life, I'm actually throwing air quotation here. It never really turns out that way. They're gonna be busier than hell, even more so than their previous life, and it plays into that. And it plays a fast and loose with all those technology carried over from previous life. And in this case, Karuta replicates his former knowledge conveniently and replicate it to current world using the magic and what have you. And of course, it introduced a ever so popular level system, magic uh, types, and so on and so forth. So it has all the things that you expect to see from Isekai. What saves this series from being just another dumb series, forgettable and not very fun to watch is that, as Tank says, characters are very lovable types. His little sister, bless her soul, got brainwashed after watching anime for so long, turned into this little otaku who takes all those anime things that she watched into heart. And all the other characters that he recruits, the former, devils and whatnot, uh, they are pretty likable bunches. There's really not much mean bones to it, and he himself, as a main character, don't try to take things too seriously, and I hope he doesn't, because the minute he starts taking things a little too serious is probably when the series is just gonna fall apart, because it was not constructed to be that way. It's supposed to be something of a slapstick type, you know. I was given this new life. I want to take it easy, so I'm gonna stick to my gun and try to make it as lazy as possible. Even though all those things that just comes at his way that prevents him from having this slow, easy life. But that's what he's aspired to do, and I I think that I like the most is actually the ending sequences, that little animations with the music on it. I love those adorable scenes. I don't know why, but I find that to be just so fun to watch.
The thing I think that changed the show a lot to make it a little more entertaining was the introduction of Lisa. Because before that, I don't think we really had a straight man in all of this craziness. And with her now reacting to everything that's happening, everyone else kind of takes it as at face level, like, yep, of course that's how that is. Of course this is how it. And to her, she's like, wait, this is outrageous. Wait, is this really how it's supposed to be? And with her now introduced into the whole fold, it's brought the comedy up a little more, I would say. So I like that they introduced her, and I can't wait to see how the rest of this goes. I'm still reading the manga, so I'll probably know before the anime comes. But overall, it goes good. Dragon, did you want to talk about Jujutsu Kaisen too, or can we skip that?
Um, I think it just comes back to like being like if you watch Jujutsu Kaisen 2 from like Jujutsu Kaisen you liked it, you're probably gonna watch it and like it's Mappa. They have like really nice animation for this season, especially all the fight scenes, and it's just been enjoyable. And like, I haven't read the manga, but I know that everyone was really hyping up for the Chibi arc, which is what's currently happening in the season. So and it's looking like really nice, and I haven't watched the most recent one, but I heard a lot of good things about it. So
Okay. Next up, we got this show, which I tried watching again, but I just couldn't finish it. Not that it's bad. It's I couldn't find anything that would hook me to say watch it next week. Which was level 1 Dakedo unique skill de Saikyo desu. Or my unique skill makes me OP even at level 1. And I think I got to level episode 6. I can't remember 100%. But it's just, I don't know, just they did add new things, like with his new bullets, his gun, and such, that made things a little more interesting. But just overall, I just couldn't get into it. Like, what drew you to it, Vinny? I think you're the only one that saw it, right?
What drew me into it? Sheer boredom, really. And Eve, the bunny girl. That's about it. It's to be honest, I'm surprised this series even got greenlit to be animated because it's such a very middling series. Whole premise is overused because it uses too much on the dungeon mechanics, the leveling up mechanics, and he conveniently keep on procuring the weapon that's both overpowering and something that's not seen in this world. First, he managed to come up with a gun that he can use. That now he has two guns to use. Then he figure out that you can, oh my god, I could use the bullets together before it makes an impact, and turned it into something even more overpowering to compensate for my lack of leveling up. And that his lack of leveling up and being stuck at level 1 is supposed to be the handicap that was meant to be an equalizer, I guess, but it's not because his skill level on being able to procure rare item was so off the chart. It pretty much negates all the shortcomings that he had, and then it becomes sort of like a good guys doing good things, and all the girls kind of gets naturally attracted to him, and so he's gonna unknowingly build up the harem, which is, I guess, it's fine if you're 12, 13-year-olds just being introduced into this isekai series, but if you watch the isekai series more than a season or two, this is not something you kind of want to watch it seriously. And I don't know how I managed to stick to it, but yeah, I probably won't remember in about 2 seasons down the road. It's just that forgettable. Animation was shoddy. There's a sort of intermission card that's very much calling card for the studio. They do that little wacky, sort of football kind of thing. But beyond that, there really isn't anything that makes this series stand out one way or another.
You reminded me about that bullet thing, and the fact that the skills could fuse to each other didn't surprise me. What surprised me the most was that he was able to shoot each bullet to each other at the same time, all the time.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's a video game mechanic. It's nothing that has to do with the real life physics, which I believe a couple seasons ago there's a series about a girl who's able to travel back and forth between the worlds, and she learns to use the handgun through the person from the private military company. And I believe Albert mentioned that it's pretty realistic on their approaches and taking precautions and all that. But this one, no, you just take out the revolver and just shoot it, and somehow it hits the target all the time and it fuses right before the impact. It's a magic, I guess.
Very, very interesting. All right. So next up, I think we could skip the one room Mao, right?
Yeah.
Oh crap! I read that wrong. There's a title here called Sandland. I thought it said Soapland. I was like, what?
Uh-huh. Soapland, huh?
I'll show you
Sandland's a
it.
movie.
I'll show you this. I just misread it. This one is Mushoku Tensei 2. Now, from what I've heard, it's being a split core that they're going to continue season 2 after the fall season. So, although we finished our 12 episodes, I believe it was, we're going to get more later on. And it was entertaining. There was only one part in this whole thing that I found awesome, and watch it over and over again, was when Rudis found out about his figure being destroyed and his battle with the Dola people, or I guess you call them, the girls. That was just so awesome. I love it. I watch it over and over again. It's just so hilarious how that pans out. But other than that, it's like this whole part of the season was just him trying to cure Edie. And
Yeah.
While the beginning was also a little more entertaining because of the battle aspects where he was adventuring, once he got to the classroom, not much really happened after, except for just with his interaction with did they call him Fitz, or
Fits, right?
I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
And his also his training with the, I think what was her name? Eliz, the dwarf girl that he got to help train for the figure making.
Oh, I can't remember her name.
For some reason, I want to say it was Elizabeth, but I don't think that's right. But it just, I hope that it picks up, because now it seems that the school arc is going to be over as we continue on with the rest of the story. And I'm excited to see where it goes from here on. But other than that, I mean, it's just I would say, though, to watch the first season if it's been a while, because it introduces a lot of characters that he's ran into before and that you might have forgotten their relationship with Rudis. So it took me a while to pick up some characters. I was like, who is that? Why are they talking like they've known each other? And then eventually I'm like, oh, yeah, that's right. That's who that was. So unless you have a really good memory, I would suggest maybe doing a synopsis watch or video or whatever you want to find out the information from season 1, so that you can catch up on who's who, to make it a little easier for yourself. And I would say, though, the first few episodes, do not watch in public. Use headphones. Or I should say maybe the first half of the series. But after that, I think you'll be okay. Anyone else have anything to hide to Mushoku Tensei?
Not really.
Yeah, so I understand why you might think it was boring, but me personally, I thought it was one of the best anime this season. The overall character growth was great. The mystery of what happened with the transport and how he got isekai, that comes into play. There's a lot of deep elements going on. There's a whole other thing about that entire thing about, what Olsted, the dragon god, is doing versus his man god, and it's setting up more things for the second core. The second core, however, is still going to be, I think, completely at the academy, although other things will happen. So it's mostly relationship building, family building, and information gathering at this point. So if that is what you're going to get. And personally, I think this is although the action, sure, I missed the action, but this has been great for me. So I don't think you should undersell how important this entire arc is and how Rudius has grown as a person compared to at the beginning of the first season, how he is still this really horrible person that got reincarnated. And he's trying to come out of that and become a better person. And I find that far more interesting than just all the battles and the fights and killing monsters. So that's my take on it. Highly recommend it.
To tell you the truth, I kind of forgot about that info dump they did, because they did that in just like one episode, right? A lot of that info about the isekai-ness and such.
Mostly in one, but I mean, he's continuing the research, and that thing will also come into play in the second half as the experimentation continues with Silent Seven Star, as she's known, and how she's trying to understand the connection between the world that they came from and this world.
All right. Next up, and we just got like all the isekais just in a row, didn't we? So next is Okashi na Tensei, which is the sweet reincarnation. And I have to say, this show is really, really entertaining to me. I also picked up the manga and read to see how it differed, and there weren't too many differences. I would say it gave us a little more information on certain things as to what the main character was thinking, as why he took certain actions and such. But overall, the anime, I think, did really decent on adapting it. And of course, this character in this show, I think he's only like around 9 years old, 8, 11, or somewhere around there. He's still pretty young, I would say. And he is a pastrier person that's reincarnated into the son of a feudal lord. But of course, it's an up and coming one where they were given a barren land, and due to his previous knowledge, he has helped improve the land and has helped his area to grow. And it's really fun how the father has recognized this and even gives him a lot of power to make certain decisions because he trusts him that much with everything that he's done. But since he's still kind of like this kid and his mind is also in this childlike form where he's just nothing but sweets on his mind, he does have those occasional hiccups where he makes mistakes and does things because he doesn't have full knowledge of it. He just has superficial knowledge, which makes things a little more fun than having all the knowledge that we see in some shows. And of course, a lot of his actions are driven by his desire to make sweets, and so he's trying to develop his territory with his father to become a place where he can generate the ingredients needed, or to transport the ingredients needed to make the sweets that he dreams of, to make everyone happy in his own way by giving everyone these sweets that just brought him so much joy in his previous life. And of course, he does have. There's a magic element in this show that gives him an upper hand in some of the things he does, but it doesn't play a lot into the show and all of the decisions he makes. He does do it a lot of the stuff also as pranks, given that he's kind of this kid in this kid's body. But it's been really fun, and I hope this gets a second season, and I would keep on watching it. It's one of those. What about you, Vinny?
Um, it's watching it and reading it reminds me a little bit of the bookworm, which I didn't expect it to put that into comparison. The reason being is that it's a bit more grounded as far as isekai series go, because once you start off isekai, the overpowering character, they kind of goes hog crazy with power trips and what have you, and that's usually your garden variety. They turn the world upside down, bring the prosperity, war, destruction, you name it, and it just happens in such a quick succession. But in this series, the pastry, the main character, and aside from the unfortunate pun being used as a name on a lot of characters, like there's casseroles and what have you, he understands that limitations and the reality of the situation that he's facing, that he is, he's something of a nobility, but at the very bottom long, and the boonies, where everything is shortchanged, and he, as much as he just wants to dive straight into making sweets, just like as in Bookworm, where the main character wants to do nothing but make books and read books, reality meant that he has to take care of what's pressing at the time in order to be able to do what he wants to do. And yes, there's a magic involved, and that magic power that he was granted is a very overpowering. But he's also smart enough not to use it nilly-nilly in front of everybody and causing an uproar, because he understands that ramification of using his power to everybody meant that there's got to be a lot of trouble later on. Process of him wanting to make sweets of his choice is something of a gradual process, since he's short on sugar, short on milk, short on egg, short on butter, which is pretty much the basic ingredient for anything bakery, confectionery goes. And in order for him to produce it, he has to literally play his card right, and which means that he has to use his knowledge from other world to enrich the country that he's entrusted with through his father, who is the ultimate authority in that town, so that he can get to what he wants. And I find that to be refreshing, which is kind of sad, but that it's a little bit more relatable, that he doesn't just go to 100, dial up to 100 and make something out of thin air. He doesn't do that. He uses what he has, and he's able to compare and make a substitution based on understanding that not everything is equivalent. And the series does a good job portraying that and mixing with change that's around him. And of course, when there's nobility, there's always politics involved. And this series does a pretty good job balancing those things out without getting tied up into one thing or another too much into it. So overall, it was surprisingly good watch.
The things that also that really stood out to this show, which made me really like it, was when the other nobilities, I guess I would say, kind of underestimated him because he was a child and the amount of pressure that he put on them.
Oh yes, squeeze all the gold coins out of oh my gosh.
So those
Count.
moments were really fun because they didn't think much of him. He would steer the conversation and you would hear the thought process of the person being questioned, like, oh no, how did we screw up? How did this happen?
I like the part where he does a little bit of payback by reproducing the little candy wrapper that portrays him with the count, which made it look like she thinks younger guys by a lot. That part really cracked me up.
But yeah, this is one show I would recommend to people to watch, just as if you have time, because it's enjoyable. Oh, next up is a title I dropped because I still couldn't get into it. I don't know why. Maybe because I didn't play the games or whatnot. But it's the Reisa no Altier. I don't know. I just couldn't get into it. We watched, I think, 7 or how many episodes? Let me see here. I have it listed. 8 episodes. We watched 8 episodes of it. But I just, even with all the what do you call it, thigh plumpage, the I just, even the fan service speech episode just couldn't save it for me. So how did it end, Vinny? Is it?
There's really no ultimate closure, and that's pretty much a typical of this series. That this really does not involve saving the world from the greater crisis of anything. It's really a story about a little town girl who wants to venture into the bigger town while getting out of the boredom, encounters certain people, and then ended up being introduced to the world of alchemy, and she learns the trade gradually. And even in the game, there's a whole lot of time you spend gathering the ingredients that's needed, and you fight those random encounters over and over and over. So what this anime did is it basically cleared out the most of those grindy part of the game and just condensed it into the storyline part of it. And there's really no huge ups and downs. In the end, they're still, little bumpkins, country bumpkin girls living their regular life, but with the newfangled knowledge of alchemy, her life and everybody's lives gets a little bit better.
Did Vinny cut out?
So if that's not your cup of tea, then you probably would not want to watch this series because there's really not a whole lot of much going on. But if you play the game or the fan of the series, it's passable. Animation quality is very uneven. Some episode is pretty good. Some episode looks pretty lopsided. So I don't think I can recommend it for anybody but the fans of the series, really. But the music's great, though. I like the ending a lot.
Yeah, I finished it too, and I can't really recommend it. I mean, there was if you love thighs, this is the anime for you, no doubt about it. But overall, the plot kind of dragged. The actions was not very actiony, more like a cutscene from a game, which is probably true. And then on top of that, I felt that it just didn't quite flow. It had a weird CG-ish look. I'm sure it's CG, but there was something very stilted about the models. The plot seemed to meander. It was more interested in showing off characters than progressing the plot. Yeah, it just felt everything was off. What it reminded me of is Grand Blue Fantasy, which is one of those game adaptations, which this is too. But yeah, overall, I can't really recommend.
Mm-hmm. All right. So, Vinny, would you say the anime is a good substitute for the game, or stick with the game?
It's a, I mean, it's a decent substitute. If you haven't played the game and if you watch the anime and went, maybe I want to try it, I mean, good for you. But if you play the game, then there's really no reason for you to watch anime because you know how it unfolds everything.
Okay. Next up is we're back to Isekai. How do you say this title again? Let me see if I can do this right. Let me open up the full thing though. Okay. Seija Muso Salaryman Isekai de Ikinokoku Tame ni Ayumu Michi. I think I said one word wrong, but the Great Cleric. Oh man, that's so easy. The Great Cleric. Yeah, the Great Cleric is entertaining. It's fun. I prefer the light novel to this. But overall, I wouldn't say it was too bad. At least we got to skip a lot of that filler stuff about how certain things happened during his training. So we got cut a lot of that out, which was nice. We didn't have to spend all our time and figured out how he navigated through the dungeons or labyrinth, I think they called them, and also his trial and errors for each fight. And a lot of the information that I thought they kind of skipped was eventually given to us near the end, which I thought was fun. But I think there was one thing that they never mentioned, which mentioned like super early in the book, was that when I think his name was Lucille in this show, that when he was reincarnated, that he wasn't the only person reincarnated, that there was a lot of others. So he knew that there would be others in this world like him.
Yeah, that was not mentioned in anime. Maybe because the plot didn't progress enough where that becomes relevant.
Yeah, so that was the only thing that I saw that they kind of cut out that I thought was like, I thought that was somewhat a little more information that would have been okay to know. But other than that, it's just this guy that was reincarnated at the age to be at the age of 15 that understood that this world was going to be dangerous because it's a world of swords and magic, and that he didn't want to regret having such a short life again, that he decided that he would become a healer so that he could do everything he can to survive. And all of his actions are driven on that sole purpose of survival. Him going to the Adventurers Guild, him being trained so that when he got to that point where he was to be out on his own, that he would be able to survive. But as such, things don't go so easily. And this show, I think, was actually very nice in how they did this, because rather than him going through and becoming stronger fast, his strength actually doesn't seem to be getting all that much stronger. While his healing class does get stronger, and he's able to do more and more with his healing attributes as a holy man, I guess you would call him. His combat abilities were still subpar to everyone else's, and he was given a lot of challenges that no one else would have partaken. And because of that, he also earned a lot of nicknames that he hates because of that, such as the masochistic zombie, they called him, and the Saint Weirdo at one point. So he gets all these weird nicknames all because he's trying to do everything he can to survive. And I think we end the series with him being around 19 years old now. So from 15 to 19. And a lot of that time skip is probably within the last 4 episodes or last arc. But they did a really good job in showing the type of character he was, and also showing how dark and shady the Healers Guild was, and his thought process on why he couldn't accept what they were going or what they were doing and what they were going through. But as he was just a lowly healer, there wasn't much he can do except for help those in his immediate surroundings. So he did everything that he could to help those around him while making friends, mainly for the sake of his survival. So a lot of revelations were given to us about his mysterious strength that he drank near the end, which made it even funnier on his hardships. But overall, it was an enjoyable show. But I think I prefer the light novel, and I'm going to keep on reading the light novel. I think the light novel covered the first 2 books, if anything. And maybe up to the 3rd, actually, now that I think about it. But I can't wait to get another season, because I think I still would watch it, because it wasn't bad. As far as isekais go, I should say. And Vinny's the only other person, right?
It's pity that girls are such a cuties, and he can do a thing about it because of the substance X and its horrible side effect.
Poor guy.
I think we should fit that to through this.
But I guess that's it for that show. Next up is one of my favorite shows this season, I would say. It kind of upset me at the beginning a little bit with how do you say it, the musical aspect of it, but I don't see the title card. I don't have a title card for it. Oh no. I guess we can still talk about it. We just won't have a title card. Not even have a title card for the other one. I'll just mute this for now. But it's a Shinigami Bochan Dokuro Maid Season 2. And it continues off where it left off from Season 1 with Alice and... I can only remember his Bochan. Did we even get his name? I can't remember. They never really call him by his name. They always call him Bochan. Bochan.
I'm not sure.
But yeah, Alice is still just as wonderful, being playful in nature, always teasing him, and you could tell that the relationship between these two are very strong. But the relationship that strengthens within season 2 isn't theirs. It's actually Zine and what was the other girl's name?
For
In the Shinigami Calf? Cuff?
Puff? Yeah.
Yeah, Zine and Cuff. So their relationship and their story arc is what builds in this in this season, but I would say like out of the 12 episodes I believe we got, 6 or 7 of those had musical numbers in them that just popped out of nowhere and just it
It's a
was
little
kind
too
of
much.
yeah. It was at first it was a little entertaining, like but then it just kept on happening one every episode it seemed, and then I was like, oh, enough. And then they finally stopped, and I was like, okay, at least they stopped when it was kind of getting a little annoying. But because it felt really out of place. Like in season 1, they had one musical number, but it felt really it fit where it was. It was them having a moment and him playing on the piano, and they just started singing with each other a childhood song. So it felt very in the moment, and everything else though, like they're playing like miniature golf in the house, and it breaks up into a musical number. Like really, come on. So as the story progressed, we also learned a little more about the witch that cursed Bochan. I think her name was. What's her name now?
Sade.
Sade, yes. So we did learn a little more about her and her sister, and we also got to meet the underlings, which were really fun, and how they kind of also somewhat became this nice little group of friends near the midpoint. But now that we've been introduced to a whole new situation near the end, where their goal is to go and try to cure their curses by doing something very risky. I'm not going to say it to avoid a little bit of spoilers, but so now they're going through special training, I would say, to try to get through that, and it's been entertaining, and I've really liked it, and it was one show that I always was expecting to get to watch right away at the start of the day. So, what did you think? Albert?
What? Me?
Yeah, Albert. What did you think?
No, I really enjoyed it. It is full CG. If you watch the first season, you'll probably like the second season. They introduced a lot more characters, right? The whole circus troupe, and then the whole made me laugh, the wizardry school, right? So whole Harry Potter thing going on. Pretty funny in the meta sense. Yeah, so there's a whole bunch of new characters, but the story does seem to be progressing, and surely there'll be a season 3. And is the manga finished now? I think it is, right, Tank?
I never read the manga. I do follow the artist on Twitter, but they mostly post for some other book I think they're working on.
So yeah, I think the manga is actually finishing or wrapping up. So hopefully season 3 will wrap up. I do worry about their plan. It's just gonna go south, it seems like. And even though the overall themes are love and friendship, and it will make the world better, there's like worry of cause and effect of what they're trying to do. So I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, if there's a season 3, I'm up for it.
Mm-hmm. I did like how they kind of kept the same theme to the opening and ending. Especially the opening. The opening was very similar to the first season. But,
Manga ended on volume 16.
Nice. So, Vinny, you should watch it. I recommend it.
I didn't watch it because I didn't watch the first season, so there's really little point for me to pick up in the middle.
I
But yeah, I'll try.
Next up was Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, which surprisingly kind of discarded a lot of that despair and dread from season 1 that I remember, with On being constantly given ordeal after the other, and it ending where it left off in season 1 to continue on to today, and seeing how it's changed so much compared to then. I'm actually a little bit happy, but now we actually have an antagonist that threatens not just On, but it seems the whole world, or at least that whole kingdom. So I think as it continues the story, we'll have some more conflict that not only will affect On, but affect everyone else. But I liked how deep the relationship between On and Xiao have risen. And we even got to see some characters from first season that, like that little fairy that was born from On. And we got to see her again. And we also got to see Jonas once more. Yay! That evil guy. That guy was just so crazy. I loved him. I just loved how he always just destroyed everything around him. But On was, of course, brought into a workshop as the head artistan as she received her what did they call it? The master something? But well, she received certification to be the sugar maker, the master sugar maker. I can't remember what that title was. But so now she's the head of the workshop that is also kind of in ruin, and she has to try to develop this workshop to change its ways and thought process in a way that could bring stability, and also to help bring the fame up so that they can get the more orders so that they can.
Thank you, Vinny. It's the Silver Sugar Master tank.
Oh yeah. So that was fun, and how we learned a bunch of new characters in this workshop, their strengths and their weaknesses, and we also got to see more of that person that we started loving, the new Jonas, Bridget, in this series. But I liked how that kind of arc with Bridget and everything was resolved pretty quickly, I would say, so that we can continue on with the story. And also learning more about the origins of Shao and his long lost brother, which I can't remember his name. And the rules that supposedly they're supposed to be in place in this world, which, of course, Shao doesn't agree with. But we are still given a lot of those beautiful, intricate sugar confectionaries that are just amazing beyond belief. The chess set that we see, and others that just are stunning every single time we see it. I kind of wish I could see something just like it. I did show a clip to these guys once of like vendors that recorded in YouTube where they kind of handle sugar and make them into like jellyfish or cats. Or not jellyfish, I should say goldfish. They made a cat, a dog, and other such items just with pure sugar. And manipulating it in their hands. So it was really fun. So there is some stuff that we can see out there in real life, but seeing as how they do it in this anime and make it look so beautiful, it's also real fun. You have anything to add, Dragon?
Not really, just because I missed a lot of this anime, but I just remember that one part that you showed about I think it was like the Christmas contest, right? And like, oh, the sugar work was just beautiful. I always like love looking at all the sugar sculptures that they draw out in this anime.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up is Vinny's recommendation of the season, Temple.
Yeah, let's go with that.
I'm just playing. Temporu, which I thought was going to be something completely different, but I can't say I was disappointed. It's one of the ecchi shows of the season. Since I didn't watch everything, I can't say it was the only one, but it was obviously one of the bigger ones. The man, I think we kind of explained at the beginning where he goes into the temple, is now living with these young girls, and he's trying to change his life for the better to be not absorbed in his worldly desires, or in this case, his sexual needs, because he saw what it did to his father and how it ruined his life just by his father being that way. So he's trying to change himself. And obviously, we're introduced to each girl and all of their reasons and why they're in this temple. And some of it was really shocking, especially this one girl called Mia Kristoff, who I guess is an exchange student here from America, I believe. And her family is super, super perverted. And she's sick and tired of that and wants to change her life. So she kind of finds this kinship with Akagami on trying to get rid of the worldly desires. So they kind of form this bond. And it's so hilarious because of her misguidings from her family and what she feels is wrong or what should be wrong. Doesn't align with what it really is. A lot of these misconceptions happen and of course lead to the lewdness. And then you got Kagura, which is there, and as you learn about her reason being there, oh, it becomes really, really awkward for Akagami. But he slowly works his way into each girl's heart with an exception. And they all appreciate Akagami in their own ways, and as they're trying to grow to become priest to save the temple, they're of course dealt with a lot of troubles, and of course a lot of these troubles end in some kind of lewd happening, either by force or by accident, because at first it's more forceful as they're trying to get him in a compromising situation to get him kicked out, and then later on it's by accident because of misunderstandings. But we did get some call outs to, I think it was called the anime Deep or Blue something. What was the anime called again? It was a diving anime, which I think the creators of this made as well.
Isn't that Grand Blue, right?
Yeah, Grand Blue. So we did get to see a poster with one of his characters in that one. Yeah, Grand Blue. And so kind of fun to see that. But overall, just full of etchiness, and that's what you want to watch. this is an okay show, I guess. It's no, Roxanne and that Cole Hiram uh, labyrinth thing, but at least we're not getting a bunch of pop-up notices that we can't watch it. Next up, which I thought you were watching this with us, Vinny. The Undead Murder First.
I missed the first couple episodes, so I never caught up to it.
Oh, for some reason I kept on calling it Murder Face because I just keep on seeing that head, and I would say Undead Murder Face or Undead Girl Murder Face, but it's farce. And I think you could say the show is split up into 3 arcs. I would almost say 3 main arcs, and we're introduced to a lot of characters. A lot of them we were able to guess their names based off of the naming of other characters, such as who the main villain was. I think Dragon called that out real fast, right? Because of Sherlock Holmes.
Oh.
And other characters that appeared. So if you're into a lot of those old time shows, what do you call those kind of shows, like with those types of characters?
Well, aren't most of these just like classical monsters, like classical monster tales, right?
Is that what they're referred to, or?
I mean, all of these are from the Victorian era, right? So there's that, or you call them Gothic.
Yes.
But it's kind of a mishmash because Lupin was created much later than Holmes. So yeah, I mean, overall, I really did enjoy it. I just feel there were some really uneven moments in the show, and the first arc, one of the arcs, I did really well. They're traveling all over Europe trying to recover, Aya's body and find the culprit that took it. We already knew who that was if you deducing it. Well, then the second arc just kind of becomes a gigantic character fest, and I think they I don't know. I feel like they blew their load a little too early, because not only do you have like Lupin, you have Holmes, you have what was the guy's name? Phineas. So the guy that is in Jules Verne's 80 Days Around the World, right? Peaceful guy that actually holds a diamond, and then on top of all of that, then all of a sudden you introduce the bad guys. So the development you had hoped to see for Aya Group, is off to the side because there's all these other characters that are fighting each other, and it's a grand melee that ends up being kind of messy. And they do come out ahead by having the clue that leads them to the third arc. But the mystery aspect of that second arc, I felt, was kind of weak. It was pretty easy to figure out what was going on, at least for me. Like the trick of who was what and how they got the MacGuffin out and all that. But once you got all the bad guys showing up, it just becomes a huge mess. So, and then the third arc was intriguing. I did not care for who are the guys in white, the people that hate all the monsters, basically. So there's that. The village aspect of it was interesting, and I didn't quite figure all of it out. I had enough clues, but I wasn't digging into it enough, and there were some really weird uh, tonal shifts in that arc that I found kind of puzzling. So I still enjoyed it, but I'm not. I don't think it was as good as it could be, and I think it has to do with the adaptation. The whoever's writing for the anime didn't quite nail it. So that was my experience, but I would still recommend it.
For some reason, when I was watching it, it made me think of that one movie called the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, and how they brought a lot of those characters together.
Mm.
Yeah, definitely.
So that was kind of fun that I got to think of that. But the other thing was, I kind of agree with those guys in white. I felt that they were totally overbearing on the story. I thought the show would have been really good without them. And I don't know, it's just they seem very unnecessary to me. But of course, they just were there to bring a lot more chaos, I think, to this story and how things would play out. But I will have to say though, Suguru, love the character. I just love how he's always playful in nature and how he's always making his side jokes. It's like, oh, I'm not the main actor. I'm just the opening here today. So there's nothing else for me to do here. And just him and his always playful nature just wonderful. And his banter with Aya all the time was also what drove a lot of enjoyment throughout the series, was just how those two played out. But I did notice some strange things happening in the last arc that was kind of fun that I didn't notice anywhere else. I might have to go back and watch, but they did some really strange blurring with like face shots and profile when they were like, you could see part of their face, but like their nose would be blurred out as it's showing it was further away or something, where they were trying to show depth by blurring things out because it wasn't in the focus of the camera. And it was just really strange sometimes. I was like, whoa, was that always like that? Was that always there? Did you happen to notice that, Albert?
I'll have to go back and see. I don't really. Yeah. I mean, animation was kind of dropped toward in the last arc. I felt it wasn't as smooth. There were disjointed moments. It was hard to tell who was where sometimes. So yeah.
I'm going to take some screenshots and show you later on. But
Okay.
it was just so interesting how they did that, and I never noticed it anywhere else except for that last arc during certain scenes. But Dragon, what did you think of it?
From all the stuff that I saw of it, I was like, I was very interested, like from the first episode that we watched it, and um, it was like interesting to like see all the deduction afterwards. From I think, what's her name? Aya Rinto, right? But it was very interesting to see all the deductions that she came at the end of like each of her cases, and then
What's up? I'm gonna. What? For I
and
gave them to you. The two atomic.
but I don't know, I just really enjoyed it, and I also agree that like Suguru just like really made like everything so funny, and I just love his personality a lot.
All right. Um, I hope that we can get a continuation of this sooner rather than later. So, like I said, it was really exciting. Um, let's go to the next title, though. Like, I think this one's going to be like a show that everyone really enjoyed here within the group. It was one of those Netflix specials. Oops, I don't want that title. I want the sideways one. Like that, yeah. Which was, what did he call this again? Watashi no shiawase na kekkon? Or my happy marriage, right?
Hmm.
Go ahead, someone to kick it off for us.
I don't have much to say just because we would always watch this near the beginning, and because I come late, I don't have a lot to say just because I kept missing out. But I think from the stuff that have seen, like it's just been tragic and despair. And then I remember we would always be like, we need to chase something after this. We can't, like, this was too depressing. But it was I always love looking at the opening visuals. And I remember like always telling Tank, like, Tank, you need to watch the opening. It is so pretty. But yeah, I mean, I definitely need to like actually go and like watch all the episodes that I missed for this. But I was like, this was like, wow, like I was interested. I I think for me, like, I always forget that there's like a little bit of like a kind of like supernatural or like supernatural fantasy aspect to it because like they have powers, and I just only focus on the drama, and then they'll like come in and like show off a power. I'm like, oh wait, I forgot that's a thing in the anime because I get so like focused on all the drama in it. I'm like, I'm more interested in the drama of like all the relationships.
So, I've heard that this has been greenlit for season 2, I believe.
Okay.
So we're
Yeah,
going to get
that's
more. Um, but the other thing I noticed, which was really fun, that I don't know if anyone else caught within our group, I mentioned it to a few people, was that at the ending song, they kind of remind me of Anohana, like where they're like playing hide and go seek. Madadayo,
Oh yeah, you did
Moikai,
mention that.
Madadayo. They mentioned that in the song. I was like, oh, that's what they say when they're playing hide and seek. And so that was kind of fun that I picked out. But other than that, I love tragedy, and this show had a good mix of it, with also bringing up that hope here and there. And Mio's growth throughout this series was really, really wonderful. Not only to her growth with her relationship between her whatever her husband, what was her husband's name?
Give me one second.
Or the person she's going to marry, but also how she grows to kind of accept herself and to try to improve herself when she also meets the sister of that was his name, Kudo, right?
Kudo, yeah, that's
So
his name.
that relationship in that was really fun, and but oh my god, I think they did a really good job on the sister and how insufferable she was,
Mm.
Kaya, and how she was over, you know, this entitled girl that wanted everything and wanted everything her way, especially when she met Kudo and realized that, oh snap, I'm getting the short end of the stick. I want something better. And the lengths and she went to get what she wanted. I'm kind of sad that we don't get to see right away, like how it's changed her or what's going to happen I think we'll probably get to that in the future, and I'm hoping she does like kind of a callback. I don't know if it'll be good or bad, but also as we learn more about the background of Mio and her family, so but just all the things that are happening in the background behind her was just, as they revealed it to us, was somewhat entertaining. Not just because, oh, she's this worthless girl. No, we find out that she's worth more than that, and then also that there had been some secret dealings within the background, and how deals were being broken, and how people are afraid of what could happen because of this relationship. It was really, really, really fun. Anyone else want to add anything?
Yeah, so I enjoyed it. Watching it, there were some. I'm sure it's in the original novel, but there were some strange character moments. I felt like sometimes they weren't quite acting the way I think they should have. And frankly, the stepmom and Kaya, it's just laughably bad villains, right? They're just comically evil. So it's Disney level villain, and it's just too bad that they can't be more grounded evil people instead of just being evil for evil's sake. And I get it because it's the writer, although it's popular, this was her first novel, and she said that it, just writing about drama didn't seem to be interesting enough, so she threw in these supernatural elements. I'm not entirely sure it's well integrated into the story. So when you all of a sudden get like a supernatural battle, it seems to kind of yank you out of this drama, and I kind of wish it was that part was less and they focused more on their relationship. So another podcast I listened to just savaged this show, and there are many points that they made which I disagree with, but they did also make some points about that I do agree with. So even though I personally enjoyed it, I can see why someone might hate it, for all the character moments that don't work for them. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a season 2, but that is what I said about Sugar Apple Fairy Tale, and I still haven't watched season 2. So I'll need to work on that. But yeah, it was I'm just looking forward to the day where she can just be happy. You just want her to be happy without all these stupid things getting in the way. And in the opening, you'll see that she has, smiling face, and her bangs are cut, so her face is actually showing. And I'm waiting for that to happen, because right now, even though she's coming out of her shell and finding out who she wants to be, she's still got those long bangs, and she's still not quite there yet. She's getting ready to bloom, but she hasn't bloomed. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that day. That's it. Vinny, did you watch it too?
Yeah, I watched it. Lovely animation. I just don't see if there's really point of having a second season based on how it ended. I mean, I'm sure there's some plot that's not being divulged on, but to me, first season ended pretty clean cut. So as much as I like to normally have a more of it, but I'm a little conflicted as to see if season 2 is necessary at this point. That's how I feel about it.
I get ya.
and plus Mio being a damsel in distress, sometimes it's a little bit too much of it, to the point of feeling really uncomfortable watching it.
Again, as I mentioned, it's a Disney level, damsel in distress, kidnapping, abuse, the whole thing.
Mm.
Speaking of relationships, we got this one, which looks like I might be the only one that watched it, which is The Dreaming Boy is a Realist. Yume Miru Danshi wa Genjitsu Sugisha, which was another High Dive title, the only two that I've watched. And I don't know, just nothing remarkable about this show. Nothing that really was like, dude, this is the next Dreaming Bunny that I thought it was going to be. And it really fell flat, but I just kept on watching it and watching it. Thank you, Vinny, Albert, for hanging out with us.
Bye, Albert.
Albert's gonna be gone for a bit. But the Dreaming Boy was realist. Was when I read the manga, it changed my view on how a lot of this stuff happened, because the manga went a little more in depth into why certain actions happen and why certain things, and why it kind of also was given that title. So Sajo, the main character, is madly in love with Aika, and we see at the beginning where he's kind of considered a stalker, and with the ball almost hitting him, he's kind of awoken from his dream where he was just going after her 100% and realizes, what am I doing? Why am I pursuing this so much? He's realizing that the things he's done could be perceived as sickening, and that he doesn't want to do her any harm, that he really does love her, but if he can't be with her, he, I guess, should accept it. And he kind of backs off from her, and it's actually kind of a shock to her and everyone else. People make fun of him, like, what's wrong? Are you sick? And tease him because he should be like her shadow, but he's no longer. And he realizes that his actions have caused her some problems, but in the greater sense, and this is where you kind of get it from the manga, that Aika, or Natsukawa, she starts calling her, owes a lot of her growth because of him. And because she was actually going through quite a bit of hardships, and because of him kind of being there, she was able to forget about some of that stuff, and was able to enjoy her school life to a point. And as we're watching the anime, he's introduced to more or less other female characters, but none of them really come off as like you would kind of think, like, oh, this is going to be a harem. But no, while they find him interesting and they do want to get close to him, it never seems to be more of a, or it never really seems to be in a romantic interest. It's more like, I see the need for your skills to help improve the student council or the disciplinary committee, or I could see how you have some great insight that could help me. And while it kind of does seem like, oh no, this is going to be a harem, it never necessarily really takes off that way. And I noticed that we do get one kind of extra character that does show up, and they kind of do a twist with her. But the way the manga and the anime differ is kind of near the midpoint, and the manga has like some, or is actually the anime inserted some parts to, I guess, make the show longer to end where it ended at. Whereas in the manga, some of the stuff that happened in anime hasn't even happened yet. They're already at the school summer uh, event going on, or whatever you want to call that. So there are some things that are off about those, which I don't mind because it happens in anime and manga, but because of the manga, like I said, I think it's worth trying to read, even though the translation is really bad out there for it. It does give you some better insight on why certain things are happening. But other than that, like I said, nothing really remarkable happens. But we'll see how it goes on. I think it does kind of come to a somewhat of a conclusion near the end here. But obviously, it's left open to see where things are going to go. And we'll have to see what the future holds. But yeah, I'm kind of interested if anyone else watch it, because I don't think anyone else has seen it. So if there's anyone else out there that saw it and wants to talk about it, I'm very interested because no one else watched it with me. Now to the next show, which is, I don't know if it's done. I heard that somewhere, which I never did the background check, that this was on a permanent hiatus, which I don't know if it is, which is Zom 100. Anyone have any news about that?
It is on indefinite hiatus.
Indefinite?
Yeah. Sadly. So I think they just released episode 9, and then I remember watching a video about someone discussing that I guess they chalked up that the issue was that there was like scheduling issues, but I don't know what was actually happening. Obviously, like, no one really knows other than the studio themselves. But I think what's happening is, like, they were probably trying to get some of the episodes ready because they didn't get to finish some of them, and now that they were falling behind, and now because the fall season is coming up, like, they don't have a slot, I think, and that's the issue, to try to like finish off Zom 100, unless like they can somehow like see if there's an open slot somewhere, or like they might have to like just like full on like just release the last 3 as like a whole, like, all at once kind of deal. But that's the issue right now on why they have an indefinite hiatus, is because they don't have a block to show the last 3 episodes. And I think it's like something in the contract, like, oh yeah, it's gonna have to be released like sometime on like Japanese television, and that's why there's an indefinite hiatus. They're not allowed to like just say, oh, we'll just like give it all into the streaming service. Like, they have to fulfill the contract, which is to like show it on like Japanese broadcast.
I see. Well, like I think it was slotted for 12. We only got, like you said, 9. So we'll have to see what the future holds. I'm surprised they can't just go straight to the video, but I guess because you said contract, we'll see what happens.
Because the series is I received a certain broadcasting slot, so they have a contract to fulfill. So they have to be broadcasted. I mean, overseas point of view, since everything is being streamed and not really tied to any TV station, it's easy to say, oh, why don't we just go stream service? But unlike in Netflix, where it might literally be contract by them to be streamed everywhere, most of the anime series still has a designated slot within the TV stations at certain time. And unfortunately, with this series, it bump into a lot of TV specials along the way during this summer season. So some of the episode was bumped down because of the schedule conflict. Then it got hit with a production delay. Now they're not even bother explaining as to what's the delay with the last 3 episodes. And unfortunately, I think all this frequent delays really what's killing the momentum of this series, which it really should have been high up in the list of everybody to see.
But the show overall was entertaining. It's just kind of sad that it's being delayed. I was kind of surprised with how much nudity was in this show, considering it all came from one guy. But I did like the midpoint where Akira met his coworker and that incident happened, and how, with the help of Shizuka, he kind of overcame that. But Akira's living his life still to fulfill his bucket list before he becomes a zombie. And I have to say, though, that all the flags they're placing on episode 9 with the father and the town, and I'm like, oh my god, it's just so obvious what's gonna happen. But if people can't wait, the manga I think is really far. Like, isn't there like 100 chapters in the manga or something? I can't remember. I thought I saw a lot. So there's a lot of things if you can't wait, and you can go pick that up and try to read it. But other than that, we're just gonna have to wait until 57 chapters. Okay, thank you, Vinny. So we'll just have to wait and see where we go from here. But other than that, unless you guys have anything else to say, I think we're pretty much done for the night. That was our list for the 2013, I'm just kidding, 23 season anime. We did drop quite a few shows, and there's, I think, a lot of shows that no one else picked up. In case people didn't know, and if you can find any, the Miku Expo's making a tour around the US for 2024, and they're selling tickets. They've been selling tickets since the middle of the month, right? And they're doing a tour across the US, hitting Canada and Mexico. So,
yeah, they're doing a North American tour.
So if you guys want to check those out, that's really cool. Surprisingly, I don't think the tickets were too bad when I was checking. Then again, I don't know what the prices typically are at, so I thought that what I got was decent.
It's the typical price for the Miku Expo if you bought at the face value.
Yeah, so I already got my ticket for Portland, Oregon. I'm gonna go check it out there. I think Dragon missed his chance in California because it was at a weird place, right?
San Jose.
It's in San Jose. I'm not gonna go all the way to San Jose.
You should. I am saddened by your lack of faith in Miku.
I know there's going to be 3 places. I think in Texas. It's going to hit Georgia.
There's just 2 places in Texas, Austin and Dallas, no?
Oh, so 2 places. I think I saw Georgia because I was thinking of hitting there once. I think it's going to Chicago, right?
Yep, it's going to Chicago, it's going to Atlanta, Georgia, and it's going to Orlando, Florida as well.
So, if you're a fan of the Vocaloid thing, yeah, that's coming up next year. But the tickets are selling now, so.
I know there's a lot of footages and whole entire Miku Expo concert from the prior years, and you could see it on the videos to get some sense of it, but actually being able to see it in person is definitely an eye-opener, I'll say.
Yeah.
So if you're a fan, I strongly recommend to attend one of the show if possible. Chances are it's gonna be returned probably in 2026. So if you miss out next year's ticket, don't despair. There will be another shot.
I also will remark that Aniplex Online Festival happened in, at the beginning of the month, last month,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
they announced like 4 movies that are going to be coming out, which are really exciting. So we got some expectation of that hopefully coming to the U.S. next year, and a lot of really interesting shows. One of them is like being reincarnated as a pig. So
Oh yeah.
I wonder how that's gonna play out. But yeah, hopefully I'm unfortunately I couldn't let people know beforehand. I didn't find out until 2 days before, and I try to notify everyone on Discord. So if you're not following us on Discord, Axe Dragon, Axe All Questions a Dragon. He can give you a link to our Discord, and we can try to get you more information there. We have some people already sharing information about the new season with that elf girl, I think. That's already came out.
Freyrin, right?
Yeah, free Aaron.
So we got that going on. Other than that, I'd like to thank everyone for watching. I'd like to thank Albert, Vinny, and Dragon for joining me in this discussion. It's been always have fun talking to you guys at the season about the animes. So I can't wait to see you guys at the beginning of the next season. Until then, bye bye, everyone.
Bye bye.
Bye.